shots. I guess that's what you get when you get Larry. Oh, that's right. And there it is. Oh!
Larry Holmes was heavyweight boxing's most underrated champion.
Larry showing getting off 3 and 4 punches.
A supremely skilled technician whose devastating jab and ring intelligence dominated the division for 7 years during the 1980s. The Easton Assassin possessed superior boxing fundamentals and professional dedication that should have earned universal respect from boxing fans and media critics. But his championship reign occurred during Ali's decline, creating unfair comparisons that overshadowed his legitimate accomplishments and technical mastery. Holmes built his reputation through systematic victories over quality opponents, while demonstrating the kind of professional consistency that separated authentic champions from temporary title holders. His methodical approach and calculated aggression produced decisive victories that showcased superior conditioning, strategic planning, and boxing intelligence. The Pennsylvania native represented everything positive about heavyweight boxing's technical evolution and athletic professionalism. Some opponents questioned Holmes's legitimacy by suggesting his success came from weak competition rather than acknowledging his systematic dominance over available challengers. Others disrespected his championship reign by claiming he was merely a placeholder, keeping the title warm for more exciting fighters. The worst critics dismissed his technical brilliance as boring while demanding more primitive excitement and knockouts. Holmes carried deep resentments against fighters who failed to show proper respect for his accomplishments while spreading lies about his competitive record and championship credentials. His professional pride demanded recognition for achievements that had been systematically undervalued by boxing politics and media bias against his methodical style. We're revealing 6 boxers who earned Larry Holmes's eternal contempt by disrespecting his championship legacy and discovering that questioning the Easton Assassin's credentials meant facing 7 years of heavyweight dominance and technical superiority that could not be disputed through honest evaluation. 6. Randall Cobb. Starting at number 6 is Randall Cobb, the Texas heavyweight whose trash-talking and disrespectful behavior during their championship encounter represented the kind of unprofessional conduct that Holmes despised throughout his career. Cobb possessed limited boxing ability, but compensated through constant verbal abuse and psychological tactics designed to disturb opponents who relied on concentration and technical preparation. His crude approach to championship competition violated Holmes's standards for professional behavior and competitive dignity. The conflict began when Cobb started making inflammatory statements about Holmes being a boring champion who put audiences to sleep through defensive boxing rather than providing the excitement that heavyweight fans deserved. These comments attacked Holmes's professional reputation while suggesting that his technical superiority was somehow inferior to primitive brawling that created artificial drama. Cobb's criticism reflected broader ignorance about boxing's strategic elements and technical requirements. The systematic beating that Holmes administered became his statement about what happened to fighters who confused verbal abuse with actual fighting ability while disrespecting established champions. Cobb's punishment served as education for other potential challengers who might consider using disrespect and trash-talking as substitutes for legitimate boxing skills and professional preparation. The victory reinforced Holmes's belief that technical superiority would always defeat crude aggression when properly applied through systematic pressure and strategic planning. 5. Mike Weaver. At number 5 is Mike Weaver, the southpaw heavyweight whose lucky knockout victory over John Tate created artificial credibility that Holmes resented because it elevated an ordinary fighter to championship status through fortunate circumstances rather than systematic excellence. Weaver represented everything Holmes disliked about boxing's tendency to create temporary champions from single performances, while ignoring fighters who had earned recognition through consistent quality opposition and professional development. The resentment intensified when Weaver began receiving media attention and promotional opportunities that seemed disproportionate to his actual accomplishments beyond one fortunate evening against an unprepared opponent. Holmes watched inferior fighters benefit from lucky breaks, while his own systematic victories received minimal recognition from boxing writers who preferred dramatic upsets over technical dominance. Weaver's temporary success validated Holmes's complaints about boxing's unfair evaluation system. Their championship encounter became Holmes's opportunity to demonstrate the difference between authentic heavyweight ability and manufactured credibility based on single lucky punches against inferior opposition. The fight represented more than title unification for Holmes. It was his chance to prove that systematic preparation and technical superiority would always defeat temporary champions who lacked fundamental boxing skills. The dominant victory confirmed Holmes's assessment that Weaver's championship reign had been an accident of timing rather than evidence of legitimate heavyweight ability. Weaver's defeat proved that lucky knockouts meant nothing against opponents who possessed superior conditioning, technical skills, and strategic preparation developed through years of professional experience against quality opposition. The victory validated Holmes's belief that authentic champions would always expose pretenders when given opportunities to demonstrate their superiority. Number 4 brings us Jerry Cooney, the Great White Hope, whose massive promotional campaign and media attention created bitter resentment in Holmes, who watched an unproven challenger receive opportunities that should have been based on merit rather than ethnic marketing considerations. Cooney represented everything Holmes despised about boxing's commercial priorities and promotional manipulation that seemed designed to create artificial stars while diminishing the accomplishments of legitimate champions. The systematic promotional advantages that Cooney enjoyed reflected broader issues about which fighters received favorable treatment and media coverage in boxing's increasingly commercial environment. Holmes watched Cooney benefit from massive television campaigns and marketing investments that portrayed him as a legitimate threat despite obvious gaps in his competitive record and professional development. The fight carried cultural and commercial implications that extended beyond normal championship stakes because it offered Holmes the chance to demonstrate that systematic excellence would always defeat marketing manipulation. The systematic demolition of Cooney validated Holmes's complaints about boxing's promotional structure, while proving that authentic fighting ability could not be replaced by commercial hype and ethnic marketing campaigns. Cooney's defeat exposed the hollow nature of his manufactured reputation, while demonstrating that legitimate champions would always expose pretenders when tested under genuine championship pressure. The victory became Holmes's definitive statement about merit versus marketing in professional boxing competition. 3. Ken Norton. At number 3 is Ken Norton, the former Marine whose systematic campaign to diminish Holmes's championship credentials created lasting animosity between two fighters who should have maintained mutual respect based on their shared experiences as legitimate heavyweight contenders. Norton represented the kind of bitter veteran who could not accept his own decline while attacking younger champions who had achieved superior success through better preparation and athletic development. The conflict intensified when Norton began making public statements suggesting that Holmes's championship reign was illegitimate because he had never faced the quality of opposition that characterized previous heavyweight eras. These comments attacked Holmes's entire professional foundation, while ignoring the obvious reality that he could only fight available challengers and had systematically defeated everyone placed in front of him. Norton's criticism reflected broader generational conflicts about comparative competition levels. Holmes resented Norton's attempts to rewrite boxing history by suggesting that his own controversial decisions over Ali somehow made him more legitimate than Holmes's decisive victories over quality opposition. The former Marine's bitter attitude toward Holmes's success revealed personal jealousy rather than honest evaluation of their respective accomplishments and professional achievements. Norton's criticism seemed motivated by his inability to accept that younger fighters had surpassed his own championship credentials. The ongoing feud represented broader tensions within heavyweight boxing about generational transitions and the tendency of former champions to diminish current fighters rather than acknowledging superior accomplishments. Number 2 is Muhammad Ali, the fallen legend whose refusal to acknowledge Holmes's superiority created the most painful professional relationship in Holmes's entire career while forcing him to destroy someone he had once idolized and respected. Ali represented everything positive that had attracted Holmes to boxing initially, but their championship encounter revealed the cruel reality that heroes must eventually be replaced by superior athletes who possess better conditioning and technical preparation. The personal agony began when Ali's declining abilities became obvious during their championship fight. forcing Holmes to choose between professional obligation and personal loyalty to someone who had provided inspiration and early career guidance. The systematic beating that Holmes administered felt like patricide because it involved destroying a legend who had created the template for heavyweight greatness that Holmes himself had followed throughout his developmental years. The ongoing legacy battle consumed Holmes as Ali's legendary status continued overshadowing his systematic victories and championship accomplishments despite clear evidence of technical superiority and professional excellence. Ali's refusal to pass the torch gracefully while actively undermining Holmes's historical significance created resentment that lasted throughout Holmes's career and beyond into retirement, when fair evaluation of their respective achievements remained distorted by nostalgia and promotional manipulation. 1. Mike Tyson. And finally, at number 1, the most devastating defeat of all, Mike Tyson, the young destroyer whose shocking knockout ended Holmes's comeback attempt while proving that age and experience meant nothing against youth, power, and perfect timing in heavyweight boxing's unforgiving environment. Tyson represented the brutal reality that every champion must eventually face regarding physical decline and the inevitable transition to younger, hungrier fighters seeking to establish their own championship credentials. The knockout became Holmes's most painful memory because it represented the definitive end of his competitive relevance while proving that his championship reign had truly concluded several years earlier than he had been willing to acknowledge. Tyson's victory forced Holmes to confront uncomfortable truths about athletic mortality and the inevitable process of being replaced by superior competition who possessed advantages that could not be overcome through experience, conditioning, or strategic planning alone. From manufactured hype to painful reality checks, Larry Holmes learned that boxing respects no one's feelings. Which defeat stung most? Subscribe for more heavyweight championship truths.